it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, today's video is about a bit of a reminder about the fact that we have options. So no matter what you have in your stash, if you've been doing card making for a small-ish amount of time, we have options. And sometimes it's so tempting to see in videos when you see something shown or see something flash by your eyes and think, oh, I really need that. Well, I think that is a reminder for me that sometimes, yeah, I do need that new product, or I really want that new product. But other times I think, what else can I substitute with? So that's kind of what today's video is about. Now, first up, I have some hearts and I'm going to kind of replicate the same design-ish, but using different options. So the first one I'm going to use is these paints. Most of these are Dina Wakley paints because I have slowly transitioned to these. I love the little bottles with the fine tips on them. These have been lasting me forever. I just find these a really good option for me. They're small enough because I don't use paint all the time, but I must admit I use it more now that I love these paints. I love the heavy body acrylics that they are. I love the colors. I love everything about them. I love that they are small, so they have a low price point as well. And all I'm doing is just putting paint across the top edge of the heart, sort of rainbowy, sort of not. And I have a few options. I have a scraper. This is one from scrapbook.com, the white one, but I'm actually just going to use a ruler as well. Rulers are going to work. It's another alternative. This is so simple. It's called Drag It Down the Page and we get this gorgeous, bright, colorful heart. At this point, I was like, I have tons of paint left over. So I thought I may as well keep on going and pop it on some more. This either creates more backgrounds or I can do die cutting from this. And I wasn't sure the exact direction of the finished product of cards that I was going to create. So who knew? So next up we have Nouveau drops. Now I went through a phase of buying more Nouveau drops than I probably needed now that I can look back on it, and that's okay because as long as I make the effort to try and use them, then we can work through that. I don't have a whole lot. I probably have around, I don't know, maybe 20 or so all up. I barely ever use any of the colors. I really just use sort of the black, the white, the clear, and sometimes the silver and the gold. That would probably be my recommendation, but I have these, so I may as well use them. And as I said, we're looking for alternatives, so this is going to give a different look, but we can still make all of this work. So I'm doing the same technique, nothing different about it, just putting the Nouveau drops up the top. This time I'm going to use the scraper. It makes no difference. Now I scraped down quite hard the first time and I thought, I kind of took off a little bit much of the color. So I'm going to come back on and just not scrape quite so hard, and that's going to leave a bit more color. Now I must admit, one really cool thing about these Nouveau drops, they have this gorgeous shine. The sheen that is left on this when this dries is stunning. You can kind of see it here a little bit when I move it around. That stays, and I like that look. I really like that look, so that's a fun one. Next up, I have re-inkers. Now I'm going to use the Distress Oxide re-inkers for this one in particular. Now the only trouble with these is that these are obviously more liquid than the other options that we've tried. So I wasn't exactly sure how to go about this, whether I try and perch them on the edge of the heart, but I thought that that would leave a little white gap up the top. Well, it had potential to. So I thought that I would just put them directly on my scraper. I left them a little gap in between so that they didn't mix in the meantime, and I thought I would somehow make this work. But honestly, this was actually easier than I thought it was going to be. So I kind of take it over to my heart, turn my heart a little bit, and then just kind of go for gold and swoop down. And again, it works okay. If I go down a couple of times, it spreads out the re-inkers a little bit, and it even blends them a little bit too so that they are all joint. You might like it that they're all kind of separate, so you could have stopped there. This is going to work with any re-inkers you have, not just Distress Oxides. You can definitely use any that you have in your stash. Of course, you could use watercolor paints. You could use water-soluble crayons. You could use watercolor pencils. You could use strips of paper. You could use, it's absolutely endless. And the point of this whole video is that we have options. when you see something amazing that you love on the screen, we can recreate this. So here's this gorgeous shiny Nouveau heart. I really love this one, and I had a plan for this in my head. So spoiler alert, I'm not going to use the Nouveau drop one for today because I have a different project in mind for that one. But yes, they look different, but I think we can make all of these work. Now, something that's sort of neutral, because we have a whole lot of colours going on with the rainbow, a really neutral look is going to be some of this twine. I actually only had this really thick twine left, and I wanted more of a thinner, finer, delicate look. So I'm going to pull apart all of the different little threads of this and pull everything apart so that it kind of gives me that that look that I was after. And of course I'm just going to tie a simple little bow with this, but I thought I would jazz it up just a little bit by adding in some gold thread just to go in that bow as well, just to include in it. And it's these little details that I think really do make the difference. I've had this gold thread forever. I suspect that they don't sell this brand anymore. Of course, any gold thread is grand. Anything at all. I'm sure you can pick it up at the dollar shop, $2 shops, cheap and cheerful shops. I'm sure you can pick it up there as well. I got this one from scrapbook.com. As I said, I don't think they sell it. If they do, as well as all the other products that I'm showing today, if they're available, I always link them down below. I link them to as many shops as I can find them at, whether it be Simon Says Stamp, Joggles, Scrapbook.com, or Craft Stash, or any of the ones that I can link to, just to help you out. And of course, that helps me out when you use those links. But it's also handy to be able to look closer at a product, in particular in the video, if you want to know a little more about it. Anyhow, I'm just cutting off the little strands. I've tied my little bow, and then I'm going to move on to sort of putting the card together. Now, this is going to be sweet and simple, of course, but don't follow my lead. Don't cut the edge off it first, because I couldn't cut this straight if I tried. And I tried to cut it twice straight, but that just shows you that my estimation skills are relatively terrible. In fact, look, I cut again 3 times. And so I finally give up and just decide to glue this on, and then I will cut the edge off like I probably should have to begin with. So using a little bit of liquid glue, this is the Ranger Multi-Medium and the matte finish. This is my preferred glue, which I put into these little glue bottles using a syringe. I know I've said this so many times, but I get so many questions, and I have a whole video on it. If you want to see how I quickly, mess-free and stress-free pop it into those bottles, just search on YouTube, how to fill a glue bottle, and it will be the first one that probably pops up. So there you can see I finally turned the card over and I trimmed off that little edge, and I'm good to go. If you wanted to, you could add an embossed background to this. I think that would look really nice too. I have the Pink Fresh Studios Curvy Leaves dies. These are some of my all-time favorites. I've shown them in so many videos, so many. And because I'm in that quick, cheerful, easy mood at the moment, I am going to use some pre-printed sentiments. Now, I love the ones from Paper Rose, the Paper Rose ones, but I also love these Simon Says Stamp ones. This is the Happy Birthday ones, of course, and so I just put together a little sentiment from here, and that is going to work well too. I save all the little bits in the back of the packaging so that I can go back and use some that I have cut up or cut parts out of, or found a word out of as well. And then just deciding what I would like to put on and how I'd like to fit this. I wasn't sure if I wanted kind of a cluster down the bottom, or whether I should put it sort of more up the top. I wasn't quite sure. So at this point, I was just sort of figuring it all out in my head. I like that extra little bit of foliage, that white bit. I think it breaks up the heart whilst still adding a little bit more texture to the page. And remember that we've got our little bow that we can add on there. So it's really just a matter of putting it all together. So maybe in the comment section down below, if you could comment if you could think of other things that you could have used as alternatives to create this kind of look, other materials or other pastes or anything like that that you could use. I love to hear everybody's different things, and often you guys think of things that I hadn't thought of either. So I would love to hear about that. But as I said, this is just a really quick and simple way of putting this card together and finishing this off. As per usual, links down below, like I said earlier in the video. I also have a link to the Buy Me a Coffee website if you would like to support my channel. Other than that, I will see you in the next episode. Thanks, bye!